Angela, thank you for joining us. It's not always that we have a licensed insurance agent with us here, but I'm glad we do.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. We're always working on the house, but we probably don't
Yes.
think as much about protecting as we should, so that's why you're here. Just help us in big picture thinking
Yeah.
about homeowners insurance.
Sure. So a homeowner's insurance policy is broken into two sections.
Okay.
We have the property section and we have the liability section.
All right, let's talk property.
Yeah, so within property, we have four sections. We have our dwelling, which is the house. We have other structures, which is anything not attached to the house. So like a detached garage, a shed, a fence.
Okay.
We have personal property. So that's everything inside the house. So if we take the house, flip it upside down, it's going to be everything that kind of shakes out.
Yeah, all right. So the built-in bookcase, no, part of the house, but the books that
Correct.
fall out, personal property.
You got it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we have loss of use. So that comes in if we are displaced from our home because of a big claim, can't stay in the home because of something that had happened, and now we're forced into a hotel or an apartment for extended period of time. This loss of use covers those over and above expenses.
Got that. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's property. You mentioned liability as the other
Yeah.
category, which is what?
Yeah, so liability, we have two sections there. We have personal liability, which you're going to see those coverage amounts be much larger. You're going to see like either a $500,000 limit or like $1 million limit. And that's because if you are found negligible for personal injury or for property damage or bodily injury, and you get sued, that's going to kind of take care of that.
So the number's big because we might be getting sued.
Yeah,
lawyers, and
legal
all of that.
fees and all of that, right.
Okay.
And then we have medical payments, which you're going to see a much smaller amount now. You're going to see about maybe like $5,000 in coverage there. That somebody gets hurt in your home, you're not at fault, so this is like a no-fault coverage. Maybe they have their shoelaces are untied, they fall down the stairs, and you just say to them, it's okay, just go to the hospital, take care of it. And
So this isn't my medical expense. It's
Right.
anyone's medical expense who gets hurt on my property.
yes. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So property liability.
Yeah.
There's got to be things that are not covered in the standard package,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm always worried about what don't I have in terms of coverage.
For sure, as you should be, right?
Yeah.
So there are standard policies that cover things like wind and storm and all of that. But then if we want to add on to it, we can. And we do that through adding coverages, and we call that endorsements.
Okay. What's
Yeah.
an endorsement? Like, what's an example of an
Yeah,
endorsement?
so an example would be like here in New England, we have many homes that are heated by oil.
I got one.
Yeah,
Got a
so you
tank
have
in the basement.
Yeah, so you have the oil tank in the basement. If oil were to seep out of that, to drip out of that oil tank and seep onto the basement floor, that would be a huge cleanup, a huge environmental.
So I can add an endorsement to my homeowners
Yeah.
specifically for that tank and that cleanup.
Yes, and that would be called an escaped fuel remediation endorsement.
See, it even sounds expensive.
Yeah, it's not that expensive.
But I can see why that would be specific to like us here in New England. But folks like in California might not use a lot of home heating oil, use with propane or something else.
Right, but in California, folks might want earthquake coverage, right? So they might be able to add that onto their homeowner's insurance policy by endorsement, or they may be able to purchase a separate earthquake policy.
Okay, so I distinctly remember when my wife and I, when we got engaged and married, we put her jewelry, her wedding ring and engagement ring, I think on the homeowner's policy, right?
Yeah, you probably did, and you can do that. You can add jewelry onto the homeowner's insurance policy through an endorsement, but we don't recommend that. We recommend putting it on a separate jewelry policy, and the reason for that is if you had to put a claim in on the jewelry and it was on the homeowner's insurance policy, that claim would trigger an increase on your homeowner's insurance policy.
Oh.
Yeah, so keeping it off and
yeah.
on its own policy, if you have to put a claim on it, it's not going to affect,
And don't let the tail wag the dog.
Yeah,
the little one.
yeah.
I get it.
Makes
I'll check
sense.
that one.
Yeah, check that one.
And then you listen to the news, and people are always surprised that their house gets washed away or flooded or whatever, and they say they don't have coverage. And I'm thinking, well, it's damage to the dwelling,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So is a flood not covered by the property?
It's not. So if that's going to be like weather-related water coming into the house from outside, maybe it comes in through the floors, through the doorways and everything, that's water seepage, weather-related, that's not going to be covered under a standard homeowner's insurance policy. You need to purchase a separate flood insurance policy for that kind of coverage.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
know. So if my pipes break in the house and I say, oh my God, it flooded my kitchen, That's a whole different thing.
That's covered, yep. But now if you have water backup in the basement, maybe from a sewer pipe that's clogged or what have you, and that backs up in the basement, you might not have coverage for it without an endorsement, water backup endorsement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So lots to think about.
Lots to think about.
If I'm now wondering if I'm properly covered, what do I do? Do I call my insurance company, ask them, or do I go to a third party and say, hey, can you review it for me?
You can do both, Kevin. Start with your agent, get your policy, go over it with them, and then have it checked by somebody else as well. Absolutely.
All right. What are you doing tonight? Thank you, Angela. I
Thank
appreciate
you, Kevin.
it. Good information.
My pleasure.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.